Well, good morning and welcome into the Real Monica Adams Show. How was your weekend? And this morning, as you're heading out, you might see some puddles on the side roads and on the highways. It actually rained pretty hard in some areas. I'm not sure if you heard, but last week, when a lot of people thought that wasn't a big deal, yes, it was. In DeSoto, they're actually talking about a tornado that moved through just a few days ago. So this has been a really weird weather pattern. And when we get our aspiring meteorologist Beckett Moore back with us this coming Friday, I'm going to ask him to look into all of this because everybody's been talking about, haven't we had more tornadoes? Haven't we had more rain? Well, let's find out from him as he looks back a year ago, even 5 years ago. I don't feel like this is the norm, but I'm not the meteorologist, so we'll check with him. He's actually been away with his family, Washington, D.C., Philadelphia. We'll be checking his forecast coming up in just a second. If you're new to the show, we also give you a little news you can use, and today it's going to be international, national, as well as local. How'd the Battlehawks do? How about the Cards and St. Louis City SC? And what's on tap for our National Day of Calendar? If you pay attention to the calendar, you'll see just days away is Father's Day. And so today it's very fitting. We're going to talk to two dads. They have their own show right here where we have our studios at Adventure Unknown in Fenton. I was just recently on their show, and I highly recommend that you follow them, the Zach and Pat Show. We're going to talk with Zach Fagas and Pat Doyle about fatherhood. We're going to talk about men communicating. You know, it's Men's Mental Health and Men's Health Month. So we're going to talk all about the guys today, father-son relationships, father-daughter relationships. We'll also talk about the sport of baseball, how it's changed. And we've talked about this in the past with one of my friends who was a former professional baseball player, Travis Snyder. He now runs something that I think is even more impactful, and that it has to do with youth sports and how parents and coaching and bad coaches, bad referees, things like that have all damaged the game. So we have so much to talk about today. Tell those guys in your life to watch today's show and to be as interactive as possible because we love to hear from you. So again, we've got a lot to do in the next hour. Let's get to it. We kick things off with a segment we call What the Weather.
Good evening from St. Louis, Missouri, and it is a beautiful one. Good morning from Washington, D.C. Here's the forecast.
Hey everyone, here's a look at the forecast for this week. Starting out with today, a high of 81, sunny skies. Keeping those sunny skies throughout the week all the way through Thursday with highs ranging in the 80s. But as we head towards the weekend, we are going to have some rain chances in the area. 50% chance of rain towards Friday, as well as Saturday, 60% chance of rain, and then keeping that chance of rain on Sunday with highs in the 80s for all of those days. Have a great week, and I'll see you back on Friday.
Well, Beckett, I hope you have a great week, and thank you again for everything you've been doing while you're on vacation. I mean, come on, a 15-year-old boy. Let's talk about that, right? He could have been sleeping in. No, he is going to be so incredible in this field and just in life. So thank you, Beckett Moore. We love you. And if you're new to the show, he's been on with us for a year and a half now, and he has just really gotten national attention. We are so proud that he's a part of our show. Now is where we get into some news you can use. And from a national standpoint, a lot of people talking about this explosion at a U.S. airbase. This happened in Japan and has injured 4 people. So an explosion at a storage site for unexploded ordnance at a U.S. military base on Japan's southern island of Okinawa injured 4 Japanese soldiers, though the injuries are not life-threatening. According to officials, they said this morning the 4 soldiers sustained finger injuries while working at a facility that belongs to Okinawa and temporarily stores unexploded ordnance. mostly from wartime and found on the island. One of the harshest battles of World War II was fought on Okinawa. The official said the injuries were not life-threatening, but no other details were immediately known. A soccer fan has died after a fall, and so many times we talk about this at stadiums that you are fearful of things like this happening. There have been things that have happened here locally. Now, a lot of times we hear that there are injuries, but not to the extent of this. Unfortunately, this person did pass away. It was at a game, the Nations League final between Spain and Portugal. An official speaking on condition of anonymity because they were not authorized to give details confirmed the person sustained fatal injuries. Again, it was at the National League final between Spain and Portugal that happened yesterday, fell from an overhead level onto a media area below. The incident occurred during the first period of extra time at the Munich stadium. Tensions were so high between the rival players, fans were becoming more animated. Medical personnel, stewards, and police cordoned off the area. Portugal went on to win the game on penalties. Spain's coach addressed the incident at the start of the post-game news conference and said, "Before we begin with the questions, I'd like to express my condolences because a fan died in the stands today." Condolences to the family. They'll, of course, be looking into that as they continue the investigation and see if anything could have prevented that fall. Well, now we bring it home. So it's St. Louis Lambert International Airport. Did any of you have family or friends, or maybe you came in yesterday and you thought, well, there were some problems there? That's all because of a balloon? Yeah, a Mylar balloon caused a temporary power outage at St. Louis Airport, Lambert International Airport. According to Ameren, power was out for about 4 minutes yesterday morning until their generators started. Terminal 2, which houses Southwest Airlines, it was the main area impacted by the outage. Southwest told some media reporters there were minor delays, but operations resumed to normal just minutes later. Ameren told KMOV the outage was caused by a balloon tripping a feed into one of the substations that serves the airport. As of 3 o'clock yesterday afternoon, the airport had full power. Mylar balloons, by the way, which are metallic, can cause power outages due to the fact that they can conduct electricity. Ameren encouraging, of course, everyone not to release Mylar balloons outdoors or really anywhere. All right, have you seen this TikTok trend? This is something, we hear about this all the time. There's trends out there. You've got the younger kids saying, hey, let's try this one, let's try that one. Have you or anyone that you know experienced this? Kids knocking in, denting your garage doors and other doors. Family actually moved from their home after it was targeted 18 times by strangers during this TikTok trend. This was actually in Chandler, Arizona. A police department in Arizona warned of a potentially destructive social media trend that involves kicking doors, vandalizing homes, and turning off electrical boxes. Again, parents, be aware of what your kids are doing. Parents, talk to your kids about how the pranks aren't harmless. They can actually result in criminal charges. You all know that there are Ring doorbells and there are, just tons of different cameras that are catching this. Your kids get caught on camera doing this, they're going to get arrested. And then what's going to happen? So you need to, again, I know kids are going to do kids things, right? But do you want them to land in jail? So just be aware of this. Evidently, it was a trend on TikTok. And again, they caught this in Chandler, Arizona. Do you remember the story we did about the missing zebra? Well, the zebra has been caught, and we've got to thank all the guys that were in the helicopter that caught this. This picture that we have there on the right, I think is the cutest thing. Just, can you get into the mind of the zebra as he's floating down? They called him Ed. Ed the zebra, officially been captured as of yesterday morning. He was out wandering for over a week in Tennessee and Nashville. The zebra's owners, Taylor and Laura Ford, confirmed the good news with a reporter in Nashville. The owner said a team from Texas was able to capture him within an hour after finding him in a pasture near the estate's subdivision, Buchanan, near Interstate 24. Deputies with the sheriff's office, the Tennessee Highway Patrol, the Tennessee Wildlife Resource Agency established the command. Officers were on standby to make sure that residents who lived nearby were safe. The zebra was airlifted and flown by the helicopter to a waiting animal shelter. Ed was captured Sunday morning and is doing okay. Ed had a great time. What do you think he did in that week that he was away? All right, let's give you some medical news. Do you have this in your cabinet? Well, beware. Nasal teething swabs recalled for fungal contamination that may cause a life-threatening infection. Nasal and teething swabs, again, as you're seeing here. Church and Dwight announcing it's voluntarily recalling Zicam Cold Remedy nasal swabs, Zicam Nasal All Clear swabs, and Oragel baby teething swabs because the swabs may be contaminated with a fungus. If used, people could suffer a serious and life-threatening blood infection. Children and people with compromised immune systems or underlying medical conditions are most at risk. Now, the company says so far no one has reported becoming ill. If you have any of these, anyone with the nasal or teething swabs should either throw them out or go to the store where they bought them if you want to get a full refund. So sometimes we talk about these recalls and we say that there's no big deal, that they're just doing it voluntarily. While they are doing this voluntarily, again, this could cause some really serious, as we mentioned as well, life-threatening injuries. Well, I love to talk about the Girl Scouts. I was one, and I was really proud of how many cookies I sold at one point. But I'm telling you, some of these people just really level up. Look at this one. We're talking 35,000 boxes of cookies. Come on, Mom and Dad, you did with this one right. She's going to do great in business. She broke the state record by selling more than 35,000. This is in Madison, Wisconsin. According to the Girl Scouts of Wisconsin, Molly Lenius has set the new state record. She sold 35,598 boxes of cookies over 13 years. Sales have also funded the participation in the Girl Scout destinations, which allowed her to travel to places like Costa Rica, Italy, and Hawaii. I love how they get rewarded for their hard work and their determination. So congratulations to her. I've been to this place since I grew up in North County. Congratulations to Old Town Donuts in Florissant, Missouri. They are in the running. Old Town Donuts is in the running for Best Donut in America, folks. Now, they've regularly gotten local awards. But now we're talking about in America. The Florissant Bakery is in an online bracket-style tournament where the public will pick the winner. I'm going to send this to our moderators. By the way, we have 2 moderators today. You can check Jenny Egan as well as Gabriel Bell. He will be helping out, and we're going to give you the link of where you can cast your vote. We want them to get the best donut in America, again, as we mentioned, in the Florissant, Missouri area. Let me know, by the way, have you ever had their donuts? They're incredible. Now, as a personal trainer, I'm not big on regularly eating donuts, but folks, if you want to try a good donut, you definitely need this one. All right, in sports news, we're going to talk Battlehawks, we're going to talk the Cardinals, and we're going to talk St. Louis City SC. How about packing the dome last night? So we're talking about the Battlehawks. They were playing another team that they had just played a week ago for the conference championship, and then they'll go into another championship game next weekend. How about the Battlehawks? I was excited. My brothers went last night. I was hoping that I was going to tell you about a win. Well, they were unable to stop DC's offensive attack. They lost to the Defenders in the XFL Conference Championship 36-18. And if you are a St. Louis Cardinals fan, okay, oh, that's fine. So let's go, if we can, I'm going to take over here for a second. I'm going to produce. Evidently, I've got some problems, I'm told, with my director's camera. So let's reset some things. As you see the donuts, let's just leave it on set a little bit longer. The St. Louis City SC, St. Louis Battlehawks, and St. Louis Cardinals were all in action over the weekend. As I mentioned, conference championship. The final was 36-18. So, sorry that I didn't get a chance to deliver better news for you with regards to that. And to my brothers who had a chance to go to the game, I was hoping that you were going to be the ones that were going to help us pull out a win, but that unfortunately did not happen. So, did you go last night? Did you enjoy the game? Did you scream loudly? Because remember, they always need that. Let's go to St. Louis Cardinals news. The Dodgers beat the Cardinals. The final was 7-3. It's the Blue Jays and the Cardinals today at 6:45, and the same 2 teams teams tomorrow. They're in town, by the way, at 6:45 as well. St. Louis City SC, after just winning a game with the interim coach, they end up losing again. Portland beat St. Louis in full time yesterday, 2-1. It will be St. Louis in LA against the Galaxy. That'll be on Saturday, June 14th. That kickoff, by the way, will be at 3:30. And then the National Day of Calendar. Just a few things on tap for you today. Sometimes we've got a ton to tell you about. Today, it's National Earl Day, whatever the heck that means. It was founded back in 2019 by Roger Slack. In honor of Earl Baltes. I don't even know who Earl is. National Strawberry Rhubarb Pie Day, and it is National Donald Duck Day. When I was a little kid, I used to do Donald Duck's voice. I'm not sure I can do it anymore without completely getting my voice losing itself. Let's see if I can do it for you. When I was a kid, I used to do all these different voices. All right. We have 60 of you on right now, and I just wanted you to be welcomed aboard. If you're brand new to our show, welcome to you. And let me let you know that we have multiple platforms that we're on: Facebook, YouTube, X, Instagram, Rumble, LinkedIn. That's how we kick things off. We want to make sure you're not void to what's going on in the world. We give you some news you can use, weather, sports news, and then we get into our topic of today. And today, we're going to talk about you guys. Let's get you talking, by the way. That's very important. Men's Mental Health Month. We're going to talk about fatherhood, father-son bonds, father-daughter bonds. We'll talk a little bit about real estate. We'll talk about baseball. We'll talk about being active. We got a lot to talk about with the guys who talk themselves. They have the Zach and Pat Show, and I'm going to introduce you to them. They will be coming up next. Zach Fagas and Pat Doyle in the white chairs.
Is so outdated and old. Can you help?
Let's take down this wall and add a support beam there.
Or just replace the furniture.
I love it.
New sofa, chaise lounge, and tables from Carroll House.
What about this bedroom?
Let's tear down this wall.
Or a new bed, dresser, and accessories.
It's like a whole new room.
Get free in-home design, fast free delivery, and free financing too. Skip the remodel. Add new furnishings from Carroll House for your new perfect room. Because you like nice things.
I just want to say I had an absolutely amazing time getting together with you and talking about how everybody can make a day just a little bit better than it was yesterday. You're doing tremendous things. I just love the spirit in which you want to help those around you and help your community. You've always been like that. What a great time, what a great show. I love our fellowship. I look forward to doing more with you in the future and checking out a few of these churches and seeing where our paths are going to cross and what kind of fun and entertainment and love we can bring to the table. I love this, and I think you're doing a killer job, so love you.
And that's, of course, how you find us. People have been asking, where are you on YouTube? Just type in The Real Monica Adams, and you'll see over 500 episodes that we've done. In fact, I want you to follow there because, unfortunately, Instagram and Facebook, after 30 days, are deleting live shows. And that's very unfortunate because a lot of you are just finding us and wanting to go back and see those shows. So that's why, even if you follow me on the other platforms, I would subscribe on our YouTube channel. All right, folks, I get a chance to see them in the hallway. We say hi every morning. A lot of kindness shown right here at Adventure Adventure Unknown for each one of the shows because we all want to lift each other up. So if you haven't seen their shows, we're going to show you some clips from them and just talk a little bit about the guys themselves. But I want guys talking today. We've got about, 62 of you I think I can see on right now between all the platforms. Let's get those numbers real high because today is the day we need you guys to talk. Let me introduce you to our guests, Zach Fagas and Pat Doyle. Thanks for coming in. Let's get this microphone closer to you. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good.
Wonderful.
Good to see you
Thanks for
guys.
having
Thanks
us.
for having us.
Okay,
Yeah.
let me ask this. Are you normally up this early?
No. Well, I mean, I usually get up between 6 and 7, depending on when the kids wake up.
Okay.
Yeah, same. If I've got my kids, I'm usually up around 6:30. So
But you wouldn't already be here.
I would
No,
not. No.
it might be the earliest I've ever been in this building.
You're like, oh, do we turn the lights on? Yes, we are the ones that turn the lights on in the morning.
Gotta-
It's time to make the donuts.
A little extra caffeine before I got here,
Yes,
you know?
yes.
Well, I appreciate it. Yeah, you guys, we'll talk about your show, but we want to give some background, etc. You just mentioned kiddos. You're both fathers.
Yes, we are.
Yes.
And so let's talk. How old are the kids?
Well, my youngest just turned 1 this past weekend. We just had his first birthday party at the house yesterday, and
Wow.
then my oldest is 3.
Oh, my goodness.
And
Okay.
I've got a 5 and 6-year-old. They're 15 months apart. So I guess that's Irish twins, maybe.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
So
love
it's my
that.
Irish twins.
So we'll talk about what fatherhood looks like and whether you were really prepared for that. They always say there's no manual out there. It's just learning, learning, learning. I wasn't blessed. I would have loved to have had children. Unfortunately, we didn't have kids, but I'm a stepmom. Let's put it that way. So I do have 2 older. My husband has 2 sons. So I get that bonus. I get the bonus kids, right?
Oh,
So we'll talk about fatherhood and we'll talk about how life changes, boys, girls, father, son, father, daughter relationships, things like that. But the main thing is that we really I love the fact you guys are talking. That's one of the things that we did on our show together. When does that drop, by the way?
It's out.
It is.
The full thing
Okay.
is out, yeah.
Okay, everybody. So I want you, and if Gabriel or Jenny can maybe grab that so that you all can see the episode that we did together, that would be awesome. So that you all can see that. You drop those how often?
Every Tuesday and Friday, twice a week.
Okay, and they tape their shows and they drop them on Tuesdays and Fridays. What platforms are best for them to see?
YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts.
Okay, folks, it's called the Zach and Pat Show. There it is on the screen for you right now. So check that out. They started that how long ago?
In December of 2023.
And I love that story. We talked about that story, by the way. You want to mention, if you
Sure,
didn't get a
yeah.
chance to see the show together, how that all came about?
So I was in Kansas City at a Chiefs game. Probably a few beers deep, and I get a text from Zach just saying, "Hey, dude, you want to start a podcast?" And I think within 30 seconds, I said yes, and there's some language in there, but yes, I was very
I'm in.
excited. I'm in. I was very excited to do this. And he's like, yeah, I had this text typed up for like 3 weeks. I was afraid to send it. I was like, why? Well, yeah.
I mean, it's a big ask. Like, hey, man, do you want to, come and hang out with me, a couple times a week for the next foreseeable future? Help me, split the financial, expenses that
Right.
this is going to be. And like, it's a big ask. And it's like,
It is, but it's also, I mean, I love it because we talk a lot about making that leap in life.
Yeah.
And so this is all for you all to listen to. He had this formed, right? And then wouldn't send it.
he's one of my good friends,
Yeah.
too,
Which again, you would have been like, yeah, come on, let's do this together.
Yeah.
But what you're asking him to do, though, is not just from a financial standpoint, not from just a time standpoint, but also having to do with the topics you all talk about, is asking him to speak, asking him as a man to communicate, which I love that you all are doing that. I don't know why for centuries it hasn't happened, or let's just at least say decades that it hasn't happened, but I believe it was, as we get into fatherhood here, it was the way that fathers used to say, guys don't talk about their feelings.
Nope.
You got to man up.
Yep.
Yeah,
Were
don't
you
talk
both
about-
told that?
Oh yeah.
Not really, honestly. My
See, it's split here.
Yeah, like my dad was very, or he is very like forthcoming with his feelings, and I felt like I can open up to him.
Good.
But still, there's like that natural, I think like instinct it is to like kind of bottle things inside, and I definitely am guilty of that.
Mm-hmm.
So, I catch myself doing it. My wife catches me doing it. So it's something that I've been working on.
What about, it sounds like you had,
Yeah, my parents are older, so they were the probably towards the young boomer generation, and I mean, very no emotion, very, yeah. I just had this conversation with him a couple weeks ago when he was in town, and that's definitely how it was. And I remember that. And it wasn't until I started really getting more advanced with baseball that I learned that no, you really need to understand your emotions and
Yeah.
control your emotions, or you're not going to be able to do anything in a game. It's just going to paralyze you. And it took baseball coach who's like my older brother, giving me a book to read that just kind of unlocked everything for me. And I read that book every year. I've read it every year since I was in 8th grade.
Tell everybody your background in baseball.
So yeah, grew up here in St. Louis, went to Oakville High School, played there, then went down and played baseball at Missouri State. And then I was fortunate enough to play 5 years professionally, 4 of them with the Cincinnati Reds, 1 with an independent team out in Kansas City. So yeah, it was a blast. Had a lot of fun doing that. Made it up to AA. Kind of had one game in AAA. So
How old are you in this picture? Can you see that one on the right there?
that was a junior in high school.
Do you know my friend Travis Snyder, by the way?
I know the name.
Okay, so Travis and you would be parallel here, where you talk about how the sport of baseball has changed, which is why he wanted to get out of it.
Yep.
But it was also, oh, I gotta chill. It was so life affirming to him to go back and realize, and he got very emotional. He was excelling, and just felt like the weight of everybody's eyes were on him. Like, you can't make any mistakes. Like, you're the guy, right? And so much pressure that he felt was put on him. And now what he's doing, I'll have to actually connect you guys. You're gonna love this new business that he has, and a show actually that he has. But he came on and he was talking about how dangerous it is, about the levels of labels that are put on someone, the weight that's put on a young child to perform. You agree with all that?
Absolutely. I mean, I coach now, and I've coached from 15U up to 18U, and those younger ones. I mean, they take stuff really personal,
Yeah.
especially like those freshman and sophomore kids, and usually you really start to see the maturity within those guys, especially the kids that are wanting to play past high school baseball. You see that level of maturity a little bit once they become juniors and seniors, that they're pretty secure with who they are as an athlete.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, those freshmen and sophomores are still learning, and it's I've seen them. I mean, I just remember when I was coaching my first stint, right after, I probably should have taken some time off after I retired, but was jumped right into it, and I still had a little too much fire in me at that point, and really didn't understand how to communicate with parents. But parents ruin it. I mean, everybody was always like, "Oh, are you going to get Connor and Oliver into baseball?" Yeah, if they want to play it, sure. Are you going to coach them? Hell no. No. So, and that's like my ex-wife signed Connor up and was like, "Oh, I'm going to sign you up as a coach." I said, "Do not do that. Please do not do that." So, but yeah, no, I mean, the parents would ask like, well, what was it that you did to succeed at baseball?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, well, first off, I was the one asking my coaches that question, not my parents.
Right.
Secondly, my parents afforded me the opportunity to get better, and it was on me to do it. They knew what my goals were. I told them what my goals were, and they would just ask, hey, or do you still want it? And I had to answer that question. You're the one trying to answer that question for your kids when
Yes.
they should be answering it. And they push and push and push. And yeah, I've seen a lot of kids get burnt out from it, and it's terrible.
Powerful comments right there. Again, I'm getting a lot of chills in this room, which we did when I was sat with you, because we're talking about this, and I need you all to do so. We'll look at the comments now. And by the way, I know a lot of you have to rush off to work. Always come back to these shows. We appreciate you interacting when you can live, but we also ask you to do #replay, and then you can tag us all in a comment so that we see it. If they don't see it, I'll make sure that they do. Again, applaud them for getting men to talk, which is the topic of today's show. You nailed it. This is Pat Doyle again. And Zach Fagas, you nailed it when we hear parents pushing their kids into sports. And many times, let me know, because you also are very active, not in baseball,
Right.
but you do martial arts.
Yes, I do. Yeah.
So it can be the same thing. I don't care what the sport is. This is for boys and girls both, and for parents to listen to this. If your child truly is saying and crying and just looks miserable, why do you keep forcing them into it? Because you are wanting them to do what you weren't able to succeed at.
100%.
Right?
And I always
100%.
heard once that, you can never make your kids love something, but you can make them hate something.
Absolutely.
So, I'm very mindful of that, as, my kids are, 3 and 1, so they're not, playing sports yet, but, I do want to introduce them to, the sports that I love, wrestling, jujitsu, football, hockey. I want them to play whatever they want to play.
But
I
you
want
just
them,
said something I think is important. You just said they're only 3 and 1, right? But
Right.
do you understand? Like in hockey, they're already in skates at like 1. That's
Yeah.
literally how they start. So sometimes I think, holy cow! Like they didn't even get a chance to just be a kid.
Yeah.
I think my first time playing hockey, I was 3 years old.
See?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I guess I got to get them on some
Oh
skates.
no, well, that's the thing.
You
Is
know?
like, I think back. I'm like, I sit back and I think because I look back when I started playing hockey when I was 3, baseball when I was 8, and I'm like, man, am I starting these kids too young in these things? And I'm like, no, I think
They
we're.
kind of have to be.
Yeah, well, but that's the thing is, I'm not sitting here banking on my kids being professional athletes. All these people are. They're
Mhm.
going to shell all this money, and I'm just like, you guys are crazy.
You wanted to go.
Yeah, you guys are crazy.
It is the Real Monica Adams Show.
Yeah.
So just in case the F-bomb comes out,
Yeah.
deal with it.
Yeah. I was like, you guys are crazy. Like, it's like, the odds, like, to get there. And I was like, just let your kids have fun.
Yes.
And, that's how I try and make it with the teams that I coach. Like, it's fun. Like, they're going to get an education from it. I mean, like this past weekend, like, I screwed up a coaching call that cost us a game. After the game, I told them, like, hey, guys, this loss is on me, not on you. You guys played hard, but that's my loss. So, yeah, I was just kind of talking to them and making sure they understood that. And so, like, hey, even I make mistakes, and being around this game for, 24 years now, 8 to almost 30 years, that, even I'll make mistakes, and that it's okay for you guys to make mistakes, and I'm not going to get mad at you.
Mm-hmm. Way to go
And
for
so-
owning that.
Oh, right. No, that's the thing. You're going to be a coach. You got to own that stuff. So that was part of it. So I'm really teaching those kids. Like that's the thing is like they're not. Some of these kids aren't getting that at home either.
Right.
And that's there's I don't think there's a better. We talked about this on our podcast. I don't think there's a better label that you can give somebody than coach. Like you're that label stuck with you forever. Like you could be the president of the United States, and if you were my coach, I would still call you. I wouldn't call you
Coach,
Mr.
right.
President. I'd be like, "What's up, coach?"
What's up, coach?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with that. And I love the fact that you also talked about, whether a parent should be the coach of their child's team. I don't know. There's a balance there. My father was a football coach for 25 years, so I grew up around football, but he also helped baseball. He helped a little bit with my basketball, soccer. He was wanting to be involved in it all, but I always was like, nope, I don't want you to be my
Right.
main coach. We're talking about sports right now. And again, get your guys, by the way, on. I'm going to try to look as many comments as we can this morning. Again, if you have questions or if you have comments about what we're talking about today, feel free to chime in. Again, multiple platforms that we're on for you this morning. We're going to talk about fatherhood. We're going to talk about parenting. We're going to talk about where things go wrong and how can we, in fact, make them right. So any aha moments that these guys are talking about for you this morning, feel free to chime in on that. From a fatherhood standpoint, by the way, we'll say it to you early. Happy Father's Day, because it's
Thank
coming
you.
up in just a handful of days. Remember the dads. What would be the best Father's Day gift for you guys?
Well, we went out and bought one yesterday or 2 days ago. My wife was like, "I know you've been really wanting a Blackstone. It's on sale. Like, let's go get that black." And she says, selfishly, because I do most of the cooking in our house. So,
Okay.
I spent 10 years in restaurants before I got into real estate. And she's like, selfishly, I just want to get it so you can make stuff for us. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm
Were
not
you a
gonna-
cook, chef?
Yeah, well, I worked in a handful of restaurants, but yeah, I worked kitchens, waited tables a lot, did a little bit of bartending, managed restaurants. Yeah, I did.
Fantastic.
That's what I did before I got into real estate. Most recently, I worked in barbecue.
What's the best dish that Zach makes?
Well, oh man, I'm pretty good on a smoker.
Okay.
Like I'm good at I make really good ribs, brisket. I mean, that's primarily what I did for a long time. So I'd have to go with brisket or ribs.
Yeah.
I mean, I do pretty good.
He's an excellent egg flipper.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, is there a story here?
Yeah, well, I would always put it on my because I worked in breakfast. I worked at First Watch for a long time, and I worked in the kitchen there. That was like my first kitchen job, and so when I was the egg flipper guy. The guys you order over easy eggs or over medium eggs. I'm the one flipping them, and so I got pretty good at that. So I would.
There
put it
is
on
an
my,
art to it, by the
is.
way.
Yeah, it's hard.
Trattoria Giuseppe was on one of our Foodie Fridays, and he's sitting there flipping, and I'm like, wait a minute, teach me how to do that. Mine just went all over the stove.
Yeah, it's like you kind of you figure it out.
It's in the wrist?
It's in the wrist. Yeah, it's all on the wrist.
Look at you. All right. You have to be on one of my Foodie Fridays now that I know.
I'll show you how to flip some over easy eggs. It'll be a pretty quick episode.
And done.
But it was funny because he's doing this, and the next thing you know, he's got people that follow him that are
doing,
flipping
like,
eggs
and tagging me.
tagging him.
See?
So.
It's a thing. It looks fun.
Yeah. Well, I haven't been able to do it for a few weeks. We just finished our kitchen remodel this past week, so
He's got a lot of egg flipping.
Yeah, I got
When's breakfast?
Yeah, I was going to say, I got some egg flipping to catch up on.
If you're just tuning in, Zach Fagas, Pat Doyle. Again, they have the Zach and Pat show that I hope that you subscribe to, watch them on YouTube, listen to them on all the audio podcast platforms. Again, they love what they do. I love what they do. I love that I was just recently on their show, so please watch that episode. We talked about a lot of things. Some of the things we're going to kind of carry over into today's show. Feel free to move that around however you want, Zach. Absolutely. Is it falling on you?
It's okay.
Yeah.
Used to these things.
So, all right. So we know about his. What's the best thing that you would make?
Best thing I would make.
Are you a barbecuer? Are you?
You know, I like to grill, so probably a steak. But I do a very good pan-seared salmon.
Oh, look at this!
Yeah,
I just like the fact that you eat fish. There's so many guys that won't try fish.
I love
love
could
fish.
eat salmon every day.
How about Chilean sea bass? That's my dish.
That's yours?
Yes.
Oh,
and my husband doesn't like fish.
Really?
My wife doesn't either.
There was a tree not too long ago, and they had a Chilean sea bass special, and it was phenomenal.
The chef at Twisted Tree does a great
job.
Yeah.
We're talking
it's like
about
my favorite spot.
Tyler.
Tyler is fantastic. Again, folks, I'm going to try to look at comments. I feel naked this morning because my interns, by the way, they just started with us. They are wonderful. So shout out to Gabriel and Hayden and Miranda. But they have all the things that I usually have to look at comments. So I'm going to try because this is not working. But I will. We'll look at some comments as we go into the break. So let's talk first of all. When you became fathers, were you expecting it? Was it, oh my gosh, well, I wanted a little bit longer?
Yeah, we were expecting it. We were kind of ready. We decided, all right, let's start, trying and we were married and ready to go and had the whole, house, everything. We were married for I guess a year or so, or about 2 years before we we were married for 3 years before we had our first son. So yeah, it was about
so you
2 years
were
then.
more in the planning, like, okay, it's
Yeah,
fine.
yeah,
What about
we
you,
were-
Pat?
It was opposite.
Yeah, I can see both sides of it.
Yeah, that's how it happens.
Exactly.
So-
Two beautiful surprises.
Oh, I
Yeah.
love that.
Yes.
What a wonderful way to say
Yeah,
it. Blessings,
two beautiful surprises, blessings. Yeah. No, definitely was not prepared for that. I was excited that it happened. I wouldn't trade it any other way, because it forces you to just, again, probably pretty much with everything I've done in my life, just do it. Just the Nike saying, just do it.
Did it make you grow up fast?
Yeah. I mean, there's no preparing to be a parent. No matter how many books you read, it's just because every kid's going to be different. I mean, my kids are 15 months apart, and they couldn't be polar opposites of one another.
Yeah.
So, what you think you just went through with one is not going to work the same for the second.
Sure.
And so, it's been the greatest learning experience of my life.
How old were you with your first?
30.
And you?
30 or 29.
Okay, so I'm going to take a break, and I want you to think about this, and we'll ask the same question to all of you. My husband says that men really, truly don't grow up until they're after 30, maybe sometimes even 35, and then it becomes, all right, we got to do this. We got to do this world, and we got to grow up. Whether you agree with that or not agree with that, I'd be very interested to see what you have to say. For them, it is, okay, now we're parents. It's a whole different story from being a single guy to, okay, let's go ahead and get married. Now we're married. Oh, wait, now there's kids in here. Now there's so much more responsibilities. We'll talk about all of this. Again, as we get ready for Father's Day coming up, yes, it is this weekend. Don't forget about your dads. Don't go anywhere. More of the Real Monica Adams Show to come. This is my wonderful role model, one of my best friends.
She said, oh my gosh, you got a long life. You could probably live to be 130 or something. And I said, oh God, I hope not.
It's getting hot in here. Don't take off all your clothes.
I'm not going to take off my clothes. on the radio tape. Going to
Kansas City, Kansas City, here I come. We're gonna spank. We're gonna speak. We're not gonna spank anybody. We are gonna speak about knowing your value, and then I'm gonna.
I'm going to spank them.
If you don't know your value and you don't grab hold of how important you are, I'm gonna spank you. Folks, you never know what you're gonna get with her.
Discover your full potential with a personalized styling experience. Designing, customizing, and transforming the looks of men and women. Revamp your individual style and embrace what makes you, you. That's real confidence.
And welcome back. Thanks again tuning in on a Monday morning to the Real Monica Adams Show. Let's tell everybody that you know today it's all about the guys. And in fact, we have a guy who watches us on a regular basis, Rich Melching. He says that we should do a Testosterone Tuesday. So it's always about the guys. What do you think about that?
I like it. Hey, we're here whenever you need us.
I knew it. Monica, we want to chime in. So speaking of chiming in, I've got my phone back. I feel like I have my appendage here. If you have any comments, any questions, any aha moments, feel free to drop comments in. Good morning to all of you. Okay, so someone said amen, as well as a coach's attitude can completely ruin the child's dream. This has happened to my oldest, and it's very hard to work through. So we were talking about fatherhood. We're talking about baseball, martial arts, any sport. Kids being pushed into the game sometimes, fights that are breaking out between, I mean, such disrespect, right? Your kid, I mean, what kind of role model is that? You're looking up and you're like, oh my gosh, that's my dad, or that's my mom, because it's both with parents, with coaches, with refs. I mean, hot heads, and it's become a thing on a regular basis, which is very unfortunate. Weigh in on that.
Yeah, it's all those parents that were told to bottle up their emotions that are now letting it go finally.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just happened to come out on their kids, coaches, and umpires.
Yeah.
And it's sad. I mean, I tell parents, I have a very, very stern meeting with the parents before the season, or before we get everything started in the fall. I'm like, if you're there yelling at the kids or yelling at me or the coaches or the umpires, you're not allowed.
Yeah,
Leave.
you're out.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Oh yeah, no. There's been times where I've kicked kids off the team because of their parents, and it's unfortunate that you have to punish the children for the actions of their parents, but it does happen.
Absolutely.
And, you know,
it's very unfortunate. We're not talking about just shouting matches. I mean, there's like fist fights happening and injuries that are happening. It's ridiculous. Let's see. As a man myself, this is Gabriel, who is in moderating for us. He said, I totally agree about how important it is to own things and take responsibility. Pat was saying earlier, like, hey, I made this call and I feel like I lost the game. I'm gonna own up to this. And I love that you did that, because so many people do not know how to say that.
Yeah.
They don't know how to take responsibility. They don't know how to say the words, I'm sorry. All of these things are very detrimental to forming relationships and trust.
100%. We read a lot of books. We're big fans of Jocko Willink, and he talks a lot about leadership and extreme ownership and things like that. And that's just part of it. Is if you're going to be a good leader, you have to own your mistakes. Right. And that was the first thing. Like, hey, I'm the leader of this team. Like, I gotta own my mistake and let them know, like, don't be afraid to make mistakes. Cause I feel like that's what locks a lot of people up, is that fear of failing. Mm-hmm. And in baseball, you're going to fail way more than anything in any other sport and still be successful. Yeah. And so I always tell people, I'm like, don't be afraid to fail. I want you to play until failure. And then guess what? That's where we know where your breaking point is, and how do we get better from there. So.
I think I said it on your show that I want to be remembered for the comment that the greatest rewards in life come from the most uncomfortable walk. So get uncomfortable, be willing to fail. Some of the greatest people we talk about in life, they have failed so many times. We don't talk about their failures, but if you look back into the history, they have failed 9 times before they succeeded at the 10th.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, 100%. I mean, we learn more from our failures than our successes.
Absolutely.
And, you know, I mean, we all put ourselves out there, and you need to fail, and it's going to be part of it. You just got to learn from it. And it's not about losing or winning. It's about winning or learning, you know?
And put it out there, by the way, because we're all following people on social media. Own those. Take the filters off. This is why this show's called The Real Monica Adams, because the more real you are, people are like, oh, we talked about it. Like, you know, if Zach tells Pat, hey, dude, I did this. Oh, say it out loud. They'll say it on their show so that other guys can hear that. Jenny said being a parent and a coach of your child at the same time is very hard ground to walk. I'm in the heat of that myself. Yeah, absolutely. So we talked about that. These guys are real. Perfect for your show, Rose said. Yes, see, we're going to do the Testosterone Tuesday. Okay. Did your dads give you good advice while you were growing up?
Yeah. I mean, it was more along the lines of teaching me independence and work ethic. I mean, they would, you know, he would push, and yeah, I mean, it was not, I wouldn't say they're very logical. The emotional side of things, I would say, like, I got that through baseball. I got that through my coach, who's like my older brother now. But like the logic side of things, the logical way to think through things, totally got that from my parents. And so, as well as my hard work, both my parents were extremely hardworking. And it's not like, it's not so much that they had to tell me, but I saw it.
Yeah,
I saw the hours that they were putting in at work. I saw how hard they were working at what they did and how successful both of them were at it. And that was just something that I just, you know, you just kind of absorb through osmosis, you know.
No, it's true. I always say, if you don't think kids, and, you know, you're talking about a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old, Zach, they're always watching Little Sponge. And then all of a sudden you're like, where did they get that from? Well, pay attention. You said it, or you did.
Yeah. I catch it all the time. Like, oh man, where did he learn to say that?
If you did just tune in, Zach Fagas, Pat Doyle, again, our guest, and I know a lot of you tune in here and there. Pat and Zach, do me a favor, look over. What does that number say?
94.
94 people. Okay, I'm on a mission now. Let's keep that number going up, up, up. We have multiple platforms. Let's get over 100. Let's go to 150, 200, because I need you guys to talk and listen to these men talking. All right, I went to the break and I said, do you agree with the comment my husband said? He does remind me of my father. He said that he doesn't believe the guys truly grow up until they're about 30 or 35 years old. Do you both agree with that comment?
Oh,
100%.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not 35 yet, but I
so you're not grown up yet.
no, I'm still just a kid. No, but I think once I had kids, I think that was a complete game changer for me. Like you realize that, you know, you're not the most important anymore. They are. And so you got to put them first. And you know, it's more motivation for me to, you know, do what I do every day and work really hard and provide them a great life, you know.
But we said this earlier, when you found out that you were going to have kids, it does make you say, I got to grow up.
100%.
Oh, yeah.
What changed in your life at that point?
When we had kids? Oh man, it was just the shock of bringing home a new baby, because I mean there's no man, you know, you'd think that there's some sort of training at the hospital where, you know, they just give you like go figure it out.
There's more babies to have.
Good luck. You know, and then you come home and you're like, oh wow, okay, so this is what everybody talks about when
this thing works.
Right, you know, and then crying, you know, sleeping, you know, that those first few months, sleep is a luxury that, you know, you don't really get much of. And
did you take shifts?
We eventually did. You know, for a while it was, you know, for the first week or two, you know, I'm waking up. We were both getting up every time, and then eventually we both look at each other like, why are we doing this?
Exactly.
Like, we're both going to be exhausted, so let's split it up. Okay, you go. You know, he cries, you get up, and then the next one you cry, he cries, you get up, and we, you know, eventually kind of figured it out, and then. Our first one, he got pretty routine pretty quickly, which was good, you know. But I mean, with the babies, you're up every 3 hours, you know. They're eating every 3 hours, so it's you know, you're at most you're getting, you know, a couple 2.5 hour naps if you're lucky, you know.
Sleep, and then I'm going to say this one: poop, pee. Please tell me that the two of you help your wives, ex-wife, but wives, mothers of your children.
Absolutely.
Changing poopy
diapers. You have to.
My dad only did it one time.
That was about the only thing we can do. That was like the only thing we could do.
Yeah, we
talk about this. Yeah, I mean,
you feel so helpless when you bring a baby home as a man.
My ex-wife, she was very hands-on. She was like, I got this. It took a while for her to like warm up to let me do it. I'm like, let me help.
Let me.
I can do things. I'm capable. Like, and
Did she think you were going to break the baby?
something like that, like sort of, she had a very particular way of doing things, and I'm like, just show me how you want it done. I'm kind of smart. I can learn
I
this.
can figure it out.
I'm telling you, my mom has told the story. She's like, your dad just literally almost threw up with the poopy diaper,
No.
and he was like, I can't, like literally. And she's like, what do you think's happening to me over here?
Yeah, like,
Yeah, he
after
literally only changed one diaper.
Wow. I
That's
mean,
so
after you see what a woman goes through to have a
Yeah.
kid,
Thank you.
it's like, I mean, it's like, how can you not want to, like, let me do something?
Yeah.
Like, let me get my hands dirty a little bit here, like literally and figuratively. Like,
Right.
it's,
So you mentioned you're not 35 yet. How old are you?
I'm 32.
And how old are you?
37.
37. Okay, so when you found out that, again, yours was more of a, oh, let's do this, surprise.
Yeah.
What level of growing up happened to you?
I mean, it was, well, a good thing we have about 40 weeks to kind of get there. So there's a lot of maturing and everything that needed to be done. I mean, I was selfish. I would take any opportunity to play golf or work or the mix the two together, work and golf at the same time. I mean, that's what I did, and hanging out with my friends, and I was always doing something. And then it was like, yeah, that's gonna change. So that was great. I mean,
Yes.
I new friends, my babies, and
Yep.
and my fiance at the time. So yeah, it was just a big shift and all that, just from us, like, hey, we're not going out to party anymore.
Mhm.
We're going out to look at baby stuff. Like, cool.
Yeah,
Like,
going out to
like,
pick out a
hey,
stroller
we can
and
always-
Yeah. And it
Date-
gets exciting
yeah,
because
date
it's
nights.
the
Yeah.
next, we talk about hats that people wear in life, and suddenly it is, this is a new hat for me, and then you own that,
Mhm.
as you're mentioning. Again, we're talking about a lot of things about getting guys to talk from a mental health standpoint. I know you guys talk about this a lot, and it's very fitting because this is Men's Mental Health Month. So what do you think has been the most powerful topics that you have discussed on your Zach and Pat show that have fallen into the lines of mental health?
I would say, I mean, we've had guests that have come on that have been through some very traumatic situations, and how they've kind of really leaned into their faith to help them through that. Whether you're religious or you're not, there's some power to that, but ultimately, I mean, I go to therapy every 2 weeks. It's like and then we've got our show, which we would talk about as like therapy every week. It's great to be able to talk about it. There's a stigma around it, but I mean, I feel like my therapist, he's awesome. If you've seen the movie,
Good Will Hunting.
Good Will Hunting.
Oh,
He's
yeah,
like
that's him?
he's like Adam. He's like Robin Williams' character. He's
Really?
awesome. Yeah. I told him, dude.
You got lucky with that.
I did. I was like, when you pass away, I'm just going to sit at your grave and just speak to your headstone, because yeah,
How long
somehow
have you been going to therapy?
Since 2021.
Good for you.
Yeah. So
And thank you for saying it, because that, again, we're talking about in these last 5 years, ever since the pandemic, so much has changed
Yeah,
or
yeah,
shifted.
absolutely.
So many people are talking now. People didn't used to say what Pat just said.
Yeah, no,
They
it's-
never wanted to say,
I'm very
going
open,
to therapy.
very
Good for
open
you.
about it. I mean, it changed my life.
It's
be honest.
healing.
And yeah, it is. I mean, it opened my eyes to a lot of things. Some things where I went wrong, but basically, coming to learn that your EQ is more important than your IQ.
yes,
And just you can have a high IQ and a low EQ, but you can't have a low EQ or a high EQ without a high IQ. So yeah,
the balance of all of that,
Yeah.
right? It is talking. Great. Intelligence is something, but tap into your emotions and
Right.
be okay with that. We mentioned earlier whether or not your dads or grandpas told you to talk or not talk. Or how about this one? Actually showing
Right.
through tears. Have the two of you seen each other cry?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've appeared up on the show a few
Pat
times.
cries all the time on
Yeah.
the show, so
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah. I do. You get me talking about my kids or anything like that, I will.
You get emotional.
I will cry. Yeah, absolutely.
And it's okay.
Absolutely.
And what happens in a man to a man when you see that happening? What do you say? What do you do? Is there, like, for me, if it happened, I would reach over to get you a napkin, or I might, it's
Yeah,
okay.
right.
What does a guy do to a guy when they see that happen?
I guess I don't never handed you a tissue, but I don't know. I just don't
Let him talk
I
it
let him
through.
let him talk through it. I
Yeah.
don't poke fun at it. I kind of like act like it's not a big deal.
That's
like
huge.
that's what it is. I don't.
What you just said, by the way, and there's another chill for me. What you just said is huge because if you see him cry and he's literally bearing and getting raw, and then you go, dude, come on, don't cry.
Yeah.
Well, he just felt like, wow.
Yeah.
And then you would go inward
Yeah.
and never do it again, maybe.
Right.
I probably would have said something to him.
Yeah.
Like, screw you, I'm crying. Leave me alone. All right?
Yeah.
Try it sometime.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. I'm going to look more at comments. Let's also talk about what happens when you go through divorce. That's another emotional topic, right?
Yeah.
Again, we're getting very real, very raw with you. Have we hit over 100 yet?
94.
94. Let's get
We're
those.
close.
Let's get that number up there. Okay. Again, as we mentioned, multiple platforms: Facebook, YouTube, X, Instagram, Rumble, LinkedIn. I'll go back through and look at all of the platforms later after the show. And if these guys missed any comments to them, complimenting them, thanking them for being real, we'll make sure that we see those. Again, if you have any comments, go ahead and drop them in right now. We'll be back in moments.
This lady got me in the best shape of my life. I literally didn't know that I could be in shape like that. But the amount that she pours into her clients, and especially whenever you get the one-on-one training, it's mind-blowing. I mean, it was really life-changing. I learned so much about proper form, about nutrition, about just being able to invest in myself. I hired Monica to be my personal trainer, which was one of the best decisions I've ever made.
Carroll House is now the contemporary furniture design center.
We now have the largest selection of the latest ultra-modern furniture.
Sleek European designs, unique metals, bold lacquers, plush fabrics, and retro styles.
Modern furnishings with exclusive collections only at Carroll House.
Plus free financing, free delivery and setup, and free in-home design.
Visit the St. Louis Center for Contemporary Design inside our 3.5-acre showrooms at Carroll House.
Because you like nice things.
Oh, I'm so excited. Yes, let's welcome them back. Just Pools, Madonna and her staff. I'm telling you, if you have a pool, if you're thinking about getting a pool or a hot tub, a spa, maybe you want it to look that beautiful, you want the fountains, you want to have a little rock. I love the fire and water features, by the way. Just Pools, which is located on the West Outer Road in Arnold. It's 3987 West Outer Road South in Arnold, Missouri. Yeah, you may have driven down 55 and went, oh, I've seen them before. They've been there a long, long time. And we're talking about mental health today. I want to thank Madonna, actually, for coming on last year. She talked about losing not one, but two sons to fentanyl. And you want to talk about getting real. That woman is amazing. And I can't thank you enough, Madonna, for coming on and telling that story. And if there's any reason to support someone, it's to say, hey, thank you for putting that out there and being real. I need chemicals. I need toys and games. I'm going to support you for so many reasons. And you obviously want this show to always be around. So you got to support those that support us. Just Pools, again, located on the West Outer Road in Arnold. I love you. And let's just thank all of our sponsors that have been with us for a while or maybe just came back on. Again, Just Pools is one of them. You know the deal. You can't do the show without good sponsors.
Of course not.
Yeah, we want to give a shout out again, Zach and Pat Show. So be sure to follow them on YouTube. Maybe listen to them on all the audio podcast platforms. We're going to look at your comments, and we've got some good ones coming in, by the way. We're laughing together. We're talking about crying together, what happens when you see tears in each other, etc. So a great dad is a fantastic blessing, one of the best things a child can have. Unfortunately, not everyone has a great dad, and that's why it's so important to have people like Zach and Pat teaching how to be a man, right? So you can inspire others that say, wow, yeah, I mean, these guys are manly men and they're owning this, and we got to grow up. Rose said the biggest thing my dad taught me was keep your gas tank full in the winter. My dad was not a good communicator or shared himself. That's how he grew up. What life lessons are you already giving your kids?
Oh man. Well,
Because your 3-year-old's paying attention.
Yeah, he's paying attention. We're having a hard time with sharing and stuff right now. So that's been the new thing. Because we live in a neighborhood and we're friends with all the neighborhood kids. We live in a cul-de-sac, and there's, all 4 houses in the cul-de-sac have kids, and so he's kind of getting to experience. He's going to preschool next year, so just dealing with other kids playing with other toys. Like, I want that. But that's been a thing I've been working on and working with him lately is, just the concept of sharing. It's
huge.
It seems simple and,
Nope.
pretty easy, but it's, for a 3-year-old, it's not so easy.
It's not. In fact, that's actually related. And I did not know that Zach was going to say that. But at church yesterday, we go to the crossing in Fenton, and the pastor that was filling in, Pastor Angela, she was talking about sibling rivalry. That was where we went in life. And she's like, it's cute when they're little, right? That the one was like smacking the other kid's head against something. But as they grow up, that rivalry gets very dangerous. So learning how to share, learning how to say, I'm sorry, learning how to give hugs, all those things that you're teaching young is going to make them a better man or woman.
Well, yesterday was my youngest is 1 and my oldest is 3. We had it's my youngest's first birthday party at the house yesterday. So we had, family and friends over, and it was, he's, our oldest is having a hard time because the youngest is getting all the attention, getting all the presents, getting all the thing. And, and we're, and then we had a couple people in our family are trying to give my older son presents. We're like, no. Like, we're trying to teach him that this is like, about him. It's about, it's about Theo, not about Calvin. And so that was a difficulty thing we were kind of working through yesterday, but, I think he ultimately did all right.
So this is going to take me, and I love, this is how they understand this, right? So you can have a set thing that you think you're going to do, and then all of a sudden somebody says something and you go over here. Will you always have them be called Theo and Calvin?
Oh,
or will it be?
It'll be whatever they want to be. I mean, some people call Calvin Cal. We actually have a bunch of little nicknames for Theo. I mean, we've been calling him Door. Theodore. So we just just Door. We're like it's kind of unique, and so
here's where I'm going with this. A nickname just to have fun is one thing, but to actually change your name to that. So my friend Theo, it goes by Teddy.
Yeah.
Right. So this is why I say this. I love when a parent picks a name, and I just wish they would stay with that name instead of having it switched to something like, my husband's name is James, but he goes by Jim, right? My mother's name is Jacqueline, but goes by Jackie. And I was like, no, my mom named all of us names you couldn't change. So will you want them to be Theo and Calvin?
I like those names. I would like them to stay with those names, but I mean, if they want to be called something else, I want them to do whatever they want to do.
What about you? What are your kids' names?
Connor and Oliver. So you can't really.
I was gonna say either one of those you can't really change.
Yeah. You got. We call him Connor's Connor, and then Oliver we call him Ollie.
Well, I was gonna say he could be Ollie.
Yeah, we call him Ollie. He just I'm sure once he gets older we'll call him Oliver, but like he's our little Ollie.
He's a little Ollie.
He's
a little tight.
Yeah.
Okay. In my opinion, you grow up and become a man once you understand that nobody is going to live your life for you.
Yeah.
What's your comments on that?
Yeah, that's one thing, but I mean, you don't. I feel like you can become a man at any age, but ultimately, I mean, once you start taking responsibility for your own actions, I feel like that's when you really truly become a man. You've got that emotional intelligence to understand your failures and all that. Heck, some guys may never get it. Some guys may. I've got kids that I coach that I'm like, wow, that's pretty that's having that awareness, that emotional awareness is, and I'm like, that's a man thing.
Absolutely.
And I mean, I don't think there's any set thing that allows it except for like being able to, emotionally understand where you're at. And that's the thing is, I think that's what's changed about men is before it wasn't about emotions, it's just how big, strong, and tough you are. Mm-hmm. But I know some pretty big, strong, and tough guys that are mentally and emotionally weak that would fold under pressure in a situation. I mean, like you're married to a police officer. Mm-hmm. I mean, those guys, the stuff that they have to do, and we've had some on our show. I mean, the stuff that they've dealt with and gone through. I mean, like that. Those are some manly things. But if they don't have the emotional wherewithal to get through it, are they really a man?
Well, it's also, and this could be in a whole nother show that we would do together. This is about what they see, whether it's first responders or it is any of you. Thank you for your service. Any of you that fought for us is somehow, some way getting them to talk about it. Otherwise, this is the reason we see divorces, we see addictions, we see suicides, because they never feel like they can talk. And it is so dangerous. Maybe, again, you talked about counseling, but maybe not to a spouse, maybe not to a mother, a father, or even a kid, because we don't understand, but to each other. There's a reason why there's a brotherhood and sisterhood in that. And I know sometimes they're like, I can't talk about these things, but you have to. Right. It's so scary that they don't.
Right.
Well, with when you hear the word, when you hear PTSD, you ultimately always think like people in the military. You
Right.
don't necessarily think police officers, but I mean, the stuff that police officers see on a daily basis. I mean, there's probably per capita. I've heard. I don't know maybe I'm mistaken, but I mean the amount of PTSD that is prevalent among police officers is. I mean, they're dealing with stuff every single day.
Every day. And worse than we ever saw it before. Now, this is what my husband has said, and you all think about this. Every time they pull up to any car, even if it's a car that's just disabled and looks like it needs to have a tire change, you have to assume they have a gun on them.
Yeah.
Isn't that horrific to
100%.
think about?
Yeah.
I mean, here they are as a hero trying to come and help, and then that person's trying to get away.
Yeah.
Right.
It's happened. We've talked about it too much. We're going to talk about divorce in just a second. Thank you for sharing. A lot of people are saying, Julie said, I don't think my husband's grown up yet. Still a child at heart. Then they said, you guys are just babies. A lot of guys don't like the idea of therapy because they don't like to think that they are broken. They don't need fixing, but that's a flawed idea. It's important to think of a therapist as someone you can lay your thoughts out to. Agree?
Absolutely. I mean, let's just put your ego aside. Go get your ass kicked or something just to put that ego aside. You're not as big as bad as you think you are, and everybody's got something wrong with them.
Amen.
And
They say they don't. They're lying.
Oh, absolutely. That's just not having any just awareness of who they are as a person. But yeah, I mean, that was the thing is like, I was hesitant around that stigma, but then once I got in there, I was like, this is the greatest thing ever.
I love this.
So
again, Pat Doyle, Zach Fagas. Zach, are we over 100 yet? Does that say 99?
99.
Oh,
We're so
come on,
close.
one
Come
more.
on, guys.
You get, what are we going to give them?
Yeah.
What? Oh, shoot.
Cool.
They said we have hit
All
it a
right,
couple
cool.
times.
Okay.
Richard said, real men of genius right here. I'm telling you, I'm going to have to go back and watch this. Too busy to watch now. Yes, that's why, though, is the beauty of streaming is that you can go back and take pieces. And I actually would tell you to watch things that are really resonating with you over and over again so that you really get it. Thank you again for coming in and listening to this. It's really, really important. Feel free to comment, again, live, or if you want to do a little hashtag and write later. Very true. Nobody is perfect. Everyone has something wrong with them. Perfectionism, by the way, I've done a whole show on that and the dangers of perfectionism. No one's ever going to be perfect. We are formed in the likeness of a perfect being, and we are imperfect. And the sooner you understand that, the better. So, dealing with so many aspects of life, one of them that you hope you don't go through, but it's a reality, is divorce. You've been divorced how long?
December of 22, we separated in February of 22, so a little over 3 years.
So did you originally get brought to counseling because of what was happening in your relationship?
Yes. So, relationship wasn't the greatest. We'd only known each other for about 3 months when she had gotten pregnant. So, not a lot of, foundation to stand on. And then we're both very like, go after like, hey, this is what we got to do. We got to do this, this, and this to get there. And so that's what it was. We never really took time to continue to build a foundation. But yeah, it led to some, a lot of verbal, we communicated, but it's just not in a very good way towards each other. So,
Sure.
So I got into therapy to kind of navigate that, how to be a better husband, how to be a better person. Ultimately for us both to kind of agree that we were never in love with each other and that we should probably get separated and kind of figure this out, kind of, through the divorce, with her owning her own business and things like that, how we were going to navigate through the divorce. But ultimately, yeah, I mean, and then divorce counseling. I mean, we see the same counselor, my counselor for divorce counseling, and he's amazing, and he's walked us through a lot of stuff, and whenever we have big topics that we want to talk about or things that the other person has done that's bothered us, instead of just like getting into it, we're like, let's set up a session with Rick.
I love that.
And so we'll go and hash it out with Rick, and Rick can kind of be our mediator and make us like both kind of like play the devil's advocate to both of us,
Right.
and get us to kind of just learn to communicate in that way. And it's been very helpful, because there's been some pretty difficult conversations that we've had and that we've been able to navigate that we probably wouldn't have been able to prior to. So, but yeah.
So there's a lot of baggage that has to be unpacked. And the thing with counseling, I don't know if you all know, but I've been a life coach for 20 years and I feel so blessed, like I'm sure your therapist does. And there's times where you go from life coaching to a business coach to so many levels of coaching. And then there's a time where we hand off and say, this has to go all the way up to a therapist. This is important. And that therapist and that life coach many times work hand in hand because we're trying to heal. We all are broken. We all have moments of, okay, I've got to work on myself and not always do the point, right? The blame game. That's a dangerous thing to say it's all you. Well, obviously not. And if there's a pattern of, wait a minute, this happened in all these relationships, well, I got to look more inward and be very introspective to think, well, what part of this can I own? And I'm sure that you've done just that and still do it. But remember, it doesn't just happen in that session. It's the work that's being done outside of it.
The greatest, so kind of around it. So we talked about getting separated, and we're in the process of that. And she ended up meeting the guy that she's still with, and they hit it off and just kind of went off from there. And so that's when I'm like, all right, well, we really need to get this divorce process started, so you guys don't have to feel like we're in this shadow of, people, however people want to label it. And so essentially, we both consulted with attorneys at first, and the best thing that was ever asked of him, what he asked, the very first thing after I told him what had happened and why we're getting divorced, he goes, well, what did you do to cause this? And I was like, at first I was like, wow, F you guy, like, exactly. What do you know? Like, come on. But it was, he's like, no, seriously, like, sit down and think about this. What did you do that caused this to happen? And I was just like, wow, that's a great question. And I really had to sit back. It wasn't even my therapist it was an attorney that asked the question. And no, I called my therapist and I'm like, Rick, I got to come see you, man. So went in and we just kind of walked through that and talked through that. And yeah, I mean, I had to, the biggest thing that I think get into people's ways is our ego. And I ultimately just had to just let go of everything, own where I messed up. We talked about it earlier, being a leader, extreme ownership. I had to take ownership in where I messed up as a husband and as a man in that situation, and apologize to her. And she did the same to me. And we were able to just kind of move on and just kind of talk through it. We have a better relationship now than we did when we were married. And
that's what I was going to ask.
And so
you hope that it becomes amicable.
Yeah, no, we're great. I mean, so much so. I mean, people call us weird all the time, which is perfect. If you want to call me weird for having a great relationship that my kids can see, like, that's fine. Yeah, I mean, like, my parents live in Florida. My parents and her talk probably more than I talk with my parents. So I find out that we're going on trips through my ex-wife to see my parents. Yeah. So my parents live in Florida. They invite us all down. So Melissa and the boys will fly down, and then I will drive down the 10 hours, 11 hours with her boyfriend and our dog in the car, and we'll just road trip it on down there. And just,
I'm telling you, there's more and more TV shows, or is there not, of how families look today. It didn't look like it did in our parents and our grandparents' time frame, and that's okay. It's just, what do you do with respect? I've got a lot of friends, by the way, same thing, Pat, that they're like, wait, you hang out with your ex?
Oh yeah, all the time.
And I'm like, they do it. I think it's
we had
really
her on
cool.
the show.
Yeah, we've had her on the podcast.
I want to see that one. How long
we had one where it was, we brought both my wife, his ex-wife on, and we did kind of a parenting episode. We did we all four of us read a book together, and then kind of reviewed the book on the show.
It was so popular, it's going to be a quarterly thing. So like right now we're in the midst
of reading another book right now. We're going to have him on here.
It's a really long book.
I know. I need to catch up on it. I've only read a couple chapters of it, but I need to.
Let's see.
All on Spotify.
Let me make sure I'm not missing anybody. Again, if we miss any, we'll go back. Yeah, very true. Nobody is perfect. OMG, Under the Tuscan Sun. Oh, I love that. Jeannie, thank you for watching from Italy. Under the Tuscan Sun in a pool now. Wanted to tune in. Both find me on Facebook. You can see pictures. Okay, again, this is what I love. You can take this show anywhere. Our show, their show, again, is the Zach and Pat Show, and I want you to follow them so you can see more of this. You're all saying that you love this real aspect, and this is what they do together. So we could go on for another hour. I think you're just going to have to return because people are liking how real it is. Does that say 102?
Yep.
Okay, there we go. So I think the most we've ever had was 200 live. I think a lot of times it has to do with like entertainers and stuff that I
Sure.
have. Ruby Lee was on, Reed Lowe was on with us, former St. Louis Blues player.
Mm.
Speaking of which, tomorrow, former St. Louis Blues enforcer, Tony Twist, another man's man.
Yeah.
He'll be in with us with his fiance, Jamie Thurber. So you want to tune in for that.
Oh, that'll
So
be
what
fun.
They're the best.
great
They're awesome.
piece of advice, yes, they are. What great piece of advice can you, and I'll ask this question to both of you, would you say that men need to start doing to really start owning their life a little bit more? Address 20-year-olds on up. Because I think that the sooner we can get to the younger generation, we are going to really help men as they move forward into the next decade,
Yeah, I mean, I would say get uncomfortable. Get more comfortable with being uncomfortable. Whether that's doing something physical, whether that's doing something like therapy, if that's might be an uncomfortable thing for you, or doing something, getting out of your comfort zone. I think there's so many benefits that I've seen in my life from doing that exact thing. Whether it's starting a business, joining a martial arts gym that's terrifying, or doing something that's very difficult to do. I think that there's great value in that it's changed me as a person fundamentally.
Love it. Pat?
I've been doing this a lot, or at least recently, or I've always kind of done it, but really been diving into it more. But really, like, sit down and determine what your core values are, what your morals, your principles, what those are. Write them down, and figure out your why. That's it's going to be one of the most important things that's going to push you through. It's that thing when things are bad or uncomfortable, like Zach said, that you can sit there and tell yourself to motivate yourself. But yeah, sit down and discover those core values. If you don't, especially the younger generation, if you don't know what core values are, chat GPT it. Just it's pretty. We would Google. You can chat GPT it. But yeah, determine what's important. Determine those values that are important to you, and then live your life according to those values.
So powerful. I'm literally sitting here going, I just love the fact that both of you in your 30s are so open, so raw, so real, okay to talk about mental health issues, tell your emotions, say, I'm not okay, go to counseling, say that you do, get guys to talk. There's so many levels of why you want to watch these guys. You're going to love it because this is what they do, and this is really what changes lives. Again, the Zach and Pat Show, they drop twice a week. And are you looking for topics and guests from people?
Yeah, absolutely. We're always looking for great guests. So if you if you think you'd be a person that would kind of fit with the vibe of the show, you're more than welcome. Reach out to us. You can find us on Instagram. That's where I would say we're most active. Instagram and Facebook. So.
And there it is, at the Zach and Pat Show. So be sure to do that. So at the end of every show, we read a devotional because I always love to bring faith into play. So I'm going to let you guys pick.
Okay.
What are you feeling today? 100 Days to Freedom from, okay, fear and anxiety, shame, anger, depression. We're not going to do overeating because it doesn't seem to fit.
I would say I like the what was the first one?
The first one's fear and anxiety.
Yeah, fear and anxiety.
Is that what you feel?
I think that kind of goes with.
And goes with what's kind
It goes with
what we're talking about. And,
Yep.
and mental health and things like that.
You will see that this one is chosen more often.
Okay.
But it also leads into the rest. This one's on day 66. This one's on day 32. The majority of them are about half behind. Everyone seems to pick fear and anxiety. This one, is on 34, 36, and the one for shame is on 39.
Oh.
This one's chosen double the amount. Right? So we're going to do that. We also have some really exciting news for you of yet another Mobile Monica coming up. We've got one tomorrow. We have one next week, and then we just booked another one, and we actually have two that are already on the books in July. We would love to find out if you want us to bring the show to a business that you know about. So first of all, before we get into our break, thank you both for being real.
Thanks for having us.
And I think there's so many more things that we could talk about. Maybe we make this a quarterly thing.
Yeah, I would love that.
All you have to do is come right down the hall.
Yeah.
Just a little earlier.
Yeah, just a little earlier. Yeah.
Again, Zach Fagas, Pat Doyle. From a business standpoint, you mentioned real estate, so go ahead and give you a plug.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a full-time real estate agent here in St. Louis. So if there's anything I can ever help you do in the world of real estate, help you buy, sell, or invest, I'd love to help you.
And there it is, all the information on the screen so that you can do just that. What about you, Pat?
I am a mortgage lender, so it works out well. I do the financing, help finance the American dream. So anybody that has any questions or concerns about what their current mortgage situation is or looking to buy a house in the future, I would love to just sit down and chat and give them their options and show them what they can do.
That's a great picture, by the way. That's the picture that we just had on the screen. Big teddy bear, big smile on his face. So that's how you can find both of them, by the way, and support them. Again, I love to help out in any way we can. Small business, helping small business.
Yes.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much, Monica.
All right, they picked fear and anxiety, so that's where we go next.
Carroll House has the furniture you're dreaming of.
For big family gatherings, for entertaining friends, or just hanging out.
For working from home or resting after work.
For kids growing up, or young adults moving out.
Whether you're updating your first home, your next home, or your dream home.
Whatever the reason you're shopping, we have the furniture you're dreaming of at Carroll House.
Because you like nice.
Really powerful hour, right? Hour plus. And that's the thing. You never know. Sometimes we go till 8. Sometimes we go over. It's always that feeling of we still have so much more to talk about. And we still do. So I would love to have these guys back on the show. If you would as well, just drop some more comments in. Some of you said, holy cow, I missed a lot. Yes. So go back and watch the beginning and don't miss one piece of it because it was all very powerful today. All about you guys. Okay, so they picked Fear and Anxiety. We're giving you freedom from this. These books, by the way, are Stephen Arterburn, really powerful books, 100 Days to Freedom. This is how we bring faith into play, and don't be afraid to be talking about your faith. That's the other thing that I really love that's out there is guys and women both saying, I give it all to God, right? Lean in and let him take over when you're a little bit scared. You have fear, you have anxiety. It's called safekeeping on day 66. The Lord keeps you from all harm and watches over your life. The Lord keeps watch over you as you come and go, both now and forever. That's Psalm 121, verses 7 through 8. When you're rattled with fear and worry, remember God is keeping you safe. We tend to overlook that simple truth when we're consumed with the things of this life. Whether you just heard some bad news, you're wrestling with an ongoing tough situation, God is with you. One reason we overlook this promise from God is that in troubling times, it seems so far from our hearts and our minds. How can we recall this great promise when we're struggling? We need to read it, to literally put our eyes on those words of Scripture. Our minds need renewing. For that to happen, we need to meditate on these words. You know, I'm very big on meditating and journaling, taking it out of here, writing it down, and speaking it out loud, and how things change in those times. When we can focus on the promises of God, we are reassured of the truth. Whatever you're focused on in this season of life, be reminded that the Lord watches over you and knows your needs. This promise is eternal, forevermore. Let these words sink into your heart and into your mind today. Worry does not empty tomorrow of its sorrows. It empties today of its strength. Ooh, that's a good one. Barbara Johnson said, we can trust God with all our problems, all our heartaches, and especially with all our long-term anxieties. Every morning as we wake ourselves up with a splash of joy, we can say, whatever, Lord, and let him bring it. It is good to remind ourselves also that the will of God comes from the heart of God and that we need not be afraid. Here's your prayer for today. Heavenly Father, thank you for your safekeeping of my heart. Help me to rest in your shelter and be strengthened by your love. Amen to that. Don't you just feel better? Right? I mean, just a lot of times we need to start our day with something like that. First of all, start the show with some positivity. If you haven't prayed or meditated or taken some time to work on your body, your mind, your soul, it's okay. You have so much more of this day to salvage that. Never think it's too late. All right, we're excited. Besides the live shows that we do, we told you, Tony Twist will be on tomorrow. So if you're a blues fan, you're going to love it. Tony Twist and Jamie Thurber. That's one show. We've got multiple shows that we're doing this week. In fact, we're doing 8 shows by the time it's all said and done. So today we will be taping our Foodie Friday show with Pueblo Solis. Can't wait to sit down with the owner, Al. And if you've been there, the best margaritas in town are from Stacy behind the bar at Pueblo Solis. That's our featured Foodie Friday Friday, by the way. And then tomorrow we've got Jamie and Tony on, then a live show at noon at Exit 11 Coffee. I went by there yesterday. There's their menu. I'm not a coffee drinker, but they're going to make me drink some coffee. I drink tea. So they do have, I had an Arnold Palmer yesterday. If you don't know what that is, that's lemonade and tea together. But they've got all of those, the 11 Wonders, by the way, and some really incredible food. They have a breakfast bowl. They've got a breakfast burrito. So we'll be trying it all. And I'm just going to have you guys look at that for a second. What it says on the bottom of the screen. Do you know what it says? My husband looked at it and he's like, I have no idea. That's like hieroglyphics. I got it right away. Do you know what it is, guys?
Intelligence is the ability to adapt and to change.
Yes. Yes. But you look at that right away going, huh? So how do we see things in life? Intelligence is the ability to adapt to change. Right. So Exit 11 Coffee at the Eureka location. That is where we'll be tomorrow at noon. Come on by, have some coffee. I'm going to be a little barista. They're going to teach me some of these coffee drinks. And I mean, I don't even know how to pronounce half of them, but they're all like caramel macchiatos. So that's tomorrow at noon. And then next week, we've been talking about this for a while. Get everybody you know. And we do mean that all vehicles are welcome as we are going to raise money for Dude's Playground. Talking about guys, Rich Melching. I cannot wait to make this one epic. It's the 3rd annual Dude's Playground Poker Run. That is coming up on June 21st, noon live broadcast, and then we're all taking off. Jim and I are hopping on the Harley, and then there's going to be, you name it, classic cars, Jeeps, Mustangs, Corvettes. I don't care what car you have. What matters is you come out and you raise money for the disabled veterans. $10 per poker hand and as many hands as you want. They're going to do a 50-50. 5 stops, free food and entertainment. We want to thank Dos Amigos for the entertainment. Food, I know, is coming from Bandanas, as well as Trattoria Giuseppe and Silo, and then a big sparklers display at 9:15. Have you ever seen Dude, by the way? There is Dude. What a gorgeous animal. And we're going to celebrate him and all the work that Richard does. And then are you ready? This team doesn't stop, by the way. We then booked another one. And for all of you, and guys, by the way, I didn't ask them this. Do you guys get manicures and pedicures?
No.
What are the feet one? What do you call that?
That's a pedicure.
Yeah, I get a pedicure. Yeah, go tomorrow, actually.
All right. Well, how about you mark this on the calendar and come out with us with this one? This is in Fenton, right around the corner from us, 964 Brookwood Center. It is Golden Nails. So I don't care whether it's girls or it's a couple's day out or the guys want to come. I love the fact that more and more men now do, in fact, get manicures and pedicures and tell the guys that they get them done, because it used to be like, no. Now, you might not paint your nails like that.
Yeah.
When I played baseball, I used to have to get a fake nail put on because my nail would crack. So,
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, see?
So,
okay.
yeah.
Well, we're going to be, now this is going to be limited if you want to actually be in one of the chairs during the actual live show, but you have to email me. Okay, this is how it's going to work. Don't call them. Email me, info@therealmonicaadams.com. That way we know who wants to have a manicure or pedicure or whatever, who's going to set it up, and you're going to get 10% off a bundle if you do the manicure pedicure together. Golden Nails, again, in Brookwood Center in Fenton. So that's the month of June for you. We've got so much more planned as we go into July. We'll tell you all about those, again, as we get into tomorrow and through the coming week. So excited. If you have a show that you would like to have us do, topics, guest, or maybe sponsors or Mobile Monicas, email me, info@therealmonicaadams.com. Gentlemen, again, thanks so much.
Thanks for having us on. It was
And
awesome.
to all of you, thank you for tuning in each and every day. We'll see you tomorrow for 2 shows. It's going to be an exciting one. Remember, they talked about a lot of things. Be and own every aspect of your life, but the greatest be you can be is kind. God bless you.